Guten Abend, Matt.
Hello, Jamie?
Oh, yeah. Hi. Hey, Matt.
You forget where you're at?
Yeah, sorry.
That happens.
I was in Germany for a couple weeks, and ergo, Matt recorded without me.
Yep.
I told him not to, but he did.
It was a fabulous episode. I do have to say.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I mean,
It was
all right.
The whole thing.
Maybe too much of me. I mean, sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes we were like, more of you, less of him, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then we had you didn't have an option in this one. It was just all me. I guess it depends where you fall on that scale of if you wanted more me, but is it too much me now?
Mm-hmm. It was funny. So I told some guys at work the other day, or the guys at work know that we have a podcast, and they're jokesters, and we have this kind of like a shared TV where you can. Think office setting where you can come and go. You can kind of put on YouTube, put on this to kind of put on background music throughout the day. And one of the jokesters puts on one of our episodes from YouTube.
Okay.
And it was the UDS, the drum smoker build. And
okay.
That whole episode was just you monotone the whole time of,
oh
yeah. And it was 90-10, 90% Matt, 10% me just saying oh yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope
that's all I was saying. I was like, oh, that was really monotone, dude.
Yeah, that was still kind of earlier. I think the mindset of doing it was more of that super serious informational style of talking, and then it's nobody can see us.
No.
But we're sitting here almost camera shy as we're doing.
We're
these.
growing. We're
well, right.
Yeah.
We're growing.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Matt.
And we are
Shade Tree Chefs. That was pretty great because I was just going to do that myself.
Heck yeah.
That was good.
Nice.
All right. We have actually a few things to talk about today. As Jamie said, he was gone for a couple weeks. He is back. He actually, the day the last episode released, he had gotten back.
It's true.
So, sometimes I'm going to start this out before we really get into the first thing we're going to talk about, where it's what are we going to do? What are we going to cook? And I tend to forget about keeping it simple, of just hey, and I know in the past I used to do that, of just whatever it was, and just say, screw it, I'm going to do this on the grill.
Yeah.
Which leads us to what you did the other day.
Exactly. My trip was good. Thanks for asking. I went to Germany, Ramstein Air Force Base. That was fun. And then we did a little trip, went over to France for a day, and then we went over to Luxembourg. So we saw some things.
And I do have to thank you for the gift you brought back for me.
I did bring back some cigars. He's laughing because I didn't bring them.
Oh, I wasn't even going to go that far, man.
No, just bring it out. Just bring it out. Just swing. No, man. Drop the ball. Drop the ball on that one. That was miscommunication. Sorry. You've been to Germany before.
I have, yeah.
Shut your mouth.
I told you, you're never going to live it down.
That's all right. Every other episode, right? You're going to do a little thing.
No, not that much.
All right. So, yeah. So, no, exactly what you're saying before was, I'm like, dude, I've done brats, I've done the burgers, I've done this, that, and the other. You kind of get to a point where you come out swinging every year. Every time it gets a little bit warm out, you're like, heck yeah, every single day, what are we grilling? What are we making outside?
And think about
and you do it.
Think about early in the season. You're like, yeah, dude, I want a brat, right? Because I don't cook brats in the winter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Burgers, I don't cook indoors. I'll go out or indoors. I'll go out somewhere and get a burger, maybe.
I do quick stuff in the wintertime.
And
I don't do long cooks.
But then, yeah, you get around mid-July, and it's you're done. It's I'm bratted out. I'm hot dogged out, burgered out,
regular chicken, seasoned chicken, pork chops, this, that, and the other. And you're like, okay, what else can I do? And I had a craving for Italian, and more specifically chicken Parmesan. And I'm like, that can be done. That's probably pretty easy. And I did a quick search on one of the Facebook groups, and I found somebody posted that they did make it on the grill. I'm like, okay, that's where I go for typically inspiration. I'll do a quick search in one of the Facebook groups. I'll do chicken, or I'll do exactly what I just said, chicken Parmesan. And I did find something. I'm just looking at pictures. I saw the process and techniques that they use. I'm like, oh, it's fairly simple. You basically and this is what I did. I took their idea and I went to town with it, and I think it turned out pretty good, but there are a couple things that I would change.
Yeah. But, and I have some questions on this, main thing being the breading.
The breading, so what the recipe, I did actually look up a recipe separate from the Facebook post. And it was very basic. It was salt, pepper,
Yeah.
Breadcrumbs to create that crust, which you just asked.
Yeah.
And then you put on marinara sauce and your cheese. And there's an airplane. I don't know, can we hear airplanes?
Yeah, I can hear it through the headphones. I live close to the airport.
It lives right on the tarmac, right on the east by northeast landing strip.
I mean, it's like a mile or two away, but you still hear them.
Oh, okay. Pretty cool. Yeah, anyways. So the process was I seasoned the chicken. First, I had to pound it flat because I've made that mistake in the past. When I first started grilling, is you'd buy the chicken breast and you cook it, and it takes 2 days to cook because the chicken breast and any cut of meat like that, you're waiting,
Yes.
you're temping it. And chicken and other bird, you don't want to mess with. You don't want to, get that pink or undercooked
Right.
salmonella, whatever.
And with that, right, because you've breaded it, now the question is, am I going to burn my breading as I'm waiting for it to cook?
Right.
And just like last week's episode of me, I'm pounding away, and I still didn't get thin enough.
And I think I've said it before in previous episodes. We've done chicken before, but you put your chicken breast on your cutting board or whatever firm surface, and you put plastic wrap over it, and that's how you pound it. That way, you're not splashing the blood or the salmonella everywhere in your kitchen. So yeah. Anyways, I flattened them out, seasoned them, and cooked them indirect. I did a little reverse here.
Okay.
Cooked them indirect for about 20 minutes. Went out there, temp checked them. They were at about 140-ish. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna do indirect, or I'm gonna do direct. Take them off and put the sauce and the cheese on there. And I did that. I put them direct. I had my slow and sear, which I think the coals were a little too close to the cooking surface.
Okay.
And so
That is taller than like the baskets that come with some of the Weber grills.
it is, especially if you use a lot of charcoal, which I mistakenly did. And so I had this full basket of 450, 500 and some degree coals, which were probably even hotter because there was maybe an inch or two away from the cooking surface.
Right.
And I'm very worried about them browning or blackening and getting burnt. So I only leave them on there for like a minute or two, and I take them off, and I'm like, okay. I took my marinara sauce, covered it on there with a spoon, so I'm not like making a big giant mess below. And I bought a block of cheese, of Parmesan cheese. It was aged 10 months, so yeah, fancy stuff. I sliced it up, thin slices, and I put a couple of slices on each chicken breast, and I'm thinking, cool. Chicken breasts are now at 150, a little over 150.
Okay.
And you want to pull chicken at 165, right?
165 is the eating temp.
That's your eating temp. And for whatever reason, I sauced them, I cheesed them, and they are not cooking anymore. I'm like,
Oh.
what the heck's going on
Dude,
here?
the sauce just soaked up all the heat.
Yeah, must have, because I'm like, I told the wife, I'm like, yeah, dinner will be ready in 5 minutes. Get everything else ready.
So, question for you, because if this kind of goes back to last week, so you had regular chicken breasts, right?
Regular chicken breast. Yeah.
So how thin did you think you got them?
I'd say 1/2 to 3/4 inch.
And at that point, we're talking about layering it. And I think one thing we forget about is butterflying them.
Oh yeah.
Where you kind of, and then
Cut 'em
you
open.
You cut it through. Of course, knowing my luck, I probably cut too far. And then you just spread it open, pound it, and then you can get that. Because, I think a lot of times you go to a restaurant, you get chicken parm, what you're dealing with 1/4 inch probably, right?
Right, exactly. So, yeah, that kind of threw a wrench in my cooking, and yeah, I think it was 15, maybe even 20 minutes before they were fully done.
Oh.
And I'm not about to serve, the family undercooked food or anybody undercooked food,
Right.
because I don't want to risk the biscuit. Like, hey, enjoy this chicken parm. Sorry, you're sick.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. So it turned out it tasted good. I think I black peppered it.
Yeah.
And some of the chicken was a little charred from the slow and sear that I used. So,
Right, and that's a kind of a question I have too. So, first one, the breading. How did that?
surprisingly, the
Turn
breading
out.
didn't char. It didn't blacken. Like
It stuck well and
it
everything.
stuck well.
Because let's face it, a lot of times when we bread, I suppose you could bake, right? There's plenty of like what's that? Shake and bake,
Shake and
right?
bake, yeah.
Shake and bake, and then you just. So I guess that kind of takes away from that. But
Shake and bake was my nickname in high school.
yeah,
Shake and bake. Yeah.
Shake and bake.
Shake and
Well,
bake.
I guess that's probably a question to ask
It's a
after
question
the
afterwards.
recording.
Yeah.
And so I guess wait till that 162, 163, because
Yeah.
I mean that cheese and marinara would probably.
That 160, yeah, you can pull it at 162, let it rest for 10 minutes, 10 minutes while you
Well,
get everything else
I'm
ready.
even saying before you put the cheese and the sauce on.
Oh, yeah, wait till it's closer.
Wait till
Yeah.
it's a little closer, because
Yeah.
I mean, think of a burger. You know,
I was just gonna say
you're
that.
like 95% done. Throw
Right.
that cheese on takes.
And then pull it, yeah. So timing wise, I think I could have done a better job with that. But being first attempt, I think it turned out pretty good. And the flavor itself, despite the whoopsies, I would do it again. But obviously, lesson learned.
Anything special for sauce or just some whatever you had?
It was honestly, it was leftover. We had an open jar of marinara, and it was just
Yeah.
like
Just whatever.
not store
Okay.
brand. But it was like I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know.
It was just marinara, right?
Marinara sauce. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got 3 kids. I mean,
This was something new that I wanted to try. That was like version 1.0. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. No, I mean, to go full out, make your own marinara for some chicken parm. I just didn't know if you had
No,
done
it
anything
wasn't-
special. It was
No.
Here it is. I'm going to do chicken parm.
Version 2.0. Like I said, definitely besides the cooking things differently, timing this, that, and the other. I do want to do more of the make like a sauce or you know,
Yeah. Well, I was a little surprised too when you said that you went and threw them over for that direct, like with that breading. That would have been. I wouldn't have thought to do that at all. I would have done that indirect. My personal opinion, my personal thought of it would have been indirect that whole time, fearing that I'd just sit there and burn to a crisp all of my breading.
So God's honest truth, I was gonna let it sit there indirect for the full cook time, and sometimes that turns out to be 35, 45 minutes.
You were impatient.
And it was already like 5:30 at night.
Yeah.
And
Kids are starting to yell.
Kids are like, hey, like Dad, when's dinner? I'm like, it's almost done. We're almost there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that there's a lot of factors that came into play
Okay.
with me doing direct and.
Well,
all that.
it's good to know because the other thing I didn't know too was, and maybe you don't remember, was how was the breading looking prior to putting it direct? Was it kind of browning up, or it seemed like it was?
Very slightly. It took, like I said, the breading itself, it browned a little, but
All right,
overall,
so-
I didn't lose a lot.
Right.
It didn't blacken. It didn't char.
I mean, I guess at that point, I'd probably think about maybe doing that direct, to get some color to it, to get that toasting of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things I didn't think of doing. You said it, I'm like, I sat there to myself like, that's what I'm talking about. Like we've gone so crazy at times on stuff we're gonna try grilling instead of just taking that normal thing and
Yeah. I mean,
just doing it on the grill.
you don't always have to go drastic. Like, you don't like for me. How we've done the baklava and the weird stuff like
Yeah.
that. You don't have to go that far. I feel like not that adventurous, but you want to do something else and you're sick of brats and burgers. I definitely recommend the chicken parmesan, and you just look up a regular chicken parmesan recipe online. You can convert most recipes to grilling.
Well, it goes like our first couple episodes. When I first kind of really got in grilling, sure it was a gas grill, but I had a small house and it didn't have central air. I used one window air conditioner, which did a decent enough job in the house, but I wasn't going to run my oven, right? Because that's
Right.
just going to kill it. So I bought it. I used like 7 tanks of propane. Everything was done on the grill.
Yeah.
And it's like my mindset, it's gone away from that of just saying, you know what, we're just doing it.
Right.
Except for cheesecake.
Cheesecake?
Not
Zero
cheesecake.
Yuck. Yeah, that was
So that's
so
no,
bad.
that
was so bad.
That's cool. That's it's good to know. So, right, if you got full chicken breast, maybe butterfly them, help you out.
Butterfly
get 'em-
them. Start them earlier if you have time. If you can swing it, do them indirect and let them just sit there.
What would you say your overall temp was on the grill?
I did on my 22, and I had both vents wide open with a full chimney, and I didn't get an exact. I only took the lid temp, which was pegged at like 450,
Okay,
maybe.
so 450 kind of the whole way.
Yeah.
except for when you see it.
Full
Okay,
bore, yep.
so it
So-
wasn't like a low and slow.
It It wasn't low and
Because I mean, you did
slow.
say use the slow and sear.
I use a slow and sear, which you can use it as
Yeah, you still had plenty of temp. You were at grilling temp.
I was at grilling time.
And honestly, I don't know what normal chicken parm recipes call for heat when you put it in the oven, but I mean that seems like you just had a stall, man. You just had a little thick of
Somehow
cut.
I got a stall with chicken breast.
I did.
It
I've
happens.
done the same.
And it was the thick boy that got me, like the
Yeah.
thick one that I try to get down as much as I can, but he was like, nah, take my time. But yeah, no, I would recommend it. I think overall the recipe itself, as plain as it was, I give it the whole thing
Did it have an egg wash in it?
No egg wash.
No egg wash.
No.
That's odd. Normally you have. You didn't mention it. I didn't think much of it, but a lot of times when you bread something, you have that flour, egg,
Right.
and then
Didn't have it.
your breadcrumbs. Nothing,
Didn't have it.
and it's stuck good. Wow, that's good to know.
I mean, the recipe does say let the breadcrumbs rest for like 15 minutes before you actually cook them.
Well,
So
I
I
guess
think
that
that
makes
allows it to dry and adhere.
Right. Well, think about a lot of the right. A lot of times, no matter what cut of meat you season, they'd normally have you do it beforehand to kind of let it adhere, right? Kind of
Right.
melt it in ways like if you have a pork shoulder or even ribs, and you
Right.
start sprinkling it on, you can actually see that color change as the moisture just from the meat. Even if you dried it off, it's still wet,
Right.
and then it kind of soaks it in.
Yeah, definitely. So let's segue that whoopsie. I say it's a whoopsie only because I had some
It's
issues.
timing.
Timing was off, but you had some timing issues with this next thing on the 4th, right?
Yeah, so I sitting there, I'm thinking, what are we gonna do? What are we going to do? And I'm just drawing blanks. And finally, I said, you know what? We're gonna do smash burgers. We're gonna bring out the Hunsaker, right? Our flat top. And
Your griddle
My griddle.
that you don't use maybe once a year.
I don't use it often.
Yeah.
And
you've never made smash burgers, correct?
nah, I mean, if I did, I don't remember.
Maybe the traditional like inside.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
I might have tried it, when I first got the Hunsaker, but nothing that stuck in my mind.
I'm getting old. You're already old. Did we do like a smash burger episode?
No.
Okay.
No.
So-
If we did, then that's
So what is a smash burger?
smash burger. So essentially, you ball up meat, and you keep it as a little ball. You put it on your hot griddle, and you smash it down.
So that's generally
That's
speaking.
generally speaking. So I did read. They said, hey, fill like a third cup, a measuring cup, and that's the size of the meat. And then you put 2 patties, with what we went with, and I put cheese between them. So get the grill. They said ideally is like 425. I did season them a little bit.
Did you measure the balls of meat?
Yes, I actually had a measuring cup.
Okay.
I measured each one, and then it kind of said loosely pack it.
Because I've seen people I've done personally where you weigh it. So like you make a ball, you kind of weigh it,
Yeah.
you get your whatever your answer you're looking for.
And honestly, there were some that were even going that way that you could tell were a little bigger or a little bit smaller. So yes, weight would be more accurate. The only nice thing with using this measuring cup is and it came out pretty easy. Is it you were pretty much in a ball already because it was one of those cone shaped ones.
Okay.
So it was already almost there, So I barely touched it. I'm like, okay. They said leave it loose because if Matt's gonna do it, like a normal burger, he's packing that. He's
Sure.
packing that bad boy,
Making it nice and tight.
and then flattening it out.
Right.
I don't want it to break apart on me. So
Right.
this was almost like leave it loose, So I even went out and bought, a circular. Ended up being, I think, cast iron, burger smasher. So heat the grill up. Well, we had a few other things. I just said, well, we'll get more into the cook, I guess, a little bit. Do we just do that right now, or
Yeah, just dive
all
in.
right. So, 425. Well, I also decided to try making homemade French fries.
Which I think flavor was good.
Yes,
We're not going to dive deep into them. Like
Nah, not dive deep.
You bought the tool right to.
I had a mandolin, and I always wondered because there was another knob, and you'd have pointy things that'd come out. Well, here it was for cutting fries, and there was 2 settings: thicker, thinner. I was like, we'll go thinner. So you get your russet potatoes. I skinned them, mandolined them, put them in water. That water got dirty, rinsed it, put new water in there, put it in the fridge overnight. Then they say essentially you need to fry them twice. So when about 300 indoors, fried them till you could bend them. Boom, they're cooked at this point, but not crunchy. Put them back in the fridge. Wait till we get going. Set the grill up outside, looking for 375, 400. Put them in 2-3 minutes or until they're browned, right, and crispy. Then yank them, and boom, there's your fries. Were they bad? No. I think timing wise, because trying to man both with quick cook times on everything.
Yeah, and you didn't have a heat lamp like a traditional
Right.
diner, would or whatever.
And maybe with it sitting, some paper towel or something. So I think they got the flavor was all right.
I was just gonna say I tried them; they were good. They were just very soggy because by the time everything else was ready, it was like soggy, cold fries. I'm like,
Right, and them sitting on each other, know,
Right.
where I was.
the grease on the grease.
The grease,
and,
nothing to keep them warm. Were they bad? No. Did it change my life? No. I would go out buy the $2 bag of fries, and then just fry those.
Honestly, that was a deep dive, and I said we weren't going to do a deep dive, so let's get back to it.
I'm sorry. That wasn't what it was about. All right, so the burgers, right? So you want like $4.25. So
Yeah.
I go now. I had these out. It's hot out. It's in the upper 80s. Sun's beaming out, and that sun was hot. So obviously I have the meat beside me, and I start going to smash. So I even oiled my smasher. I don't know what the technical term is. It's a smasher.
Sure.
So
Iron? Your iron?
My iron, yeah. Circular. I want nice. I throw a couple on. I go to smash. It smashes beautifully. Like I can see it oozing out. I go and pick up, and the meat comes with it. So
okay, not
so
good.
then that's not good. So I'm like, all right. So I use the spatulas, and I kind of smash the others.
Crisscross like an X.
Crisscross, and like an X, smash them down. I move my hand a little bit, make it as even as I can.
So I'll tell you real quick. I've done smash burgers, but before, and I've tried the iron. It's fine. It's all right. And I think the trick with that is you have to use like a wax paper or wax paper, like a butcher paper, something that would withstand heat. That way you're pushing it down and it's not sticking to it.
Well, and in hindsight, I did read somewhere else that they were saying make sure the meat is nice and cold. The other thing, and my next thought was I just put the smasher right on the flat top itself. Like maybe heat will help it.
Sure.
So in hindsight, I did see an article actually today, or a thread on the social medias, and someone said, hey, it's kind of some said the heat from the iron, which didn't help me much, but it was the temp of the meat, that nice and cold meat, like fresh out of the fridge.
Sure.
Which was way too far for me to do. I guess I could have had a cooler.
Yeah.
So
something to keep it cool.
So we get them going, and then it's like, man, these don't seem to be right. The big thing about smash burgers is that charring, right? That you get that little burnt crispness to them.
You used beef tallow, was it? Or
Yeah. So I was like, okay, we're gonna throw down some oil, right? They say butter or whatnot. I said no. I got some beef tallow left. We're gonna make these you're gonna lose a month of your life eating these. This was 80-20. And then beef tallow on top of it. Like, we're just going all out.
Sure.
And as we went, I stopped adding just because the burgers kind of gave enough of the grease.
Yeah, so I was gonna tell you that day it was like I've not used like a beef tail or anything like that. Like to prep the griddle itself, just to get it kind of oiled up a little bit, I used actual olive oil, kind of make sure it's got a nice thin coating of oil, because the burgers themselves they have enough fatty content.
They do.
If you're using 80-20.
I thought with a little bit of the oil, it would help, because these are quick cooks, right? Like how quickly will those juices release, right? I'm thinking like in ways we're almost frying these burgers on this griddle.
I mean, with that beef tallow, yeah.
So that's why I'm like, we'll use the beef tallow. The day before I went, because I've kept it covered, so it wasn't rusty or anything. But I fired up. I did a dry run, scraped it down, oiled it. It wasn't olive oil. I think it might have been canola oil, but same
Whatever,
thing. Just got it nice and clean, nice and seasoned for the day.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not quite seeing this color change I want. I'm like, I thought these bad boys are supposed to be crisp. So I have an infrared thermometer, and then I go and check, because I checked it previously, and I'm doing the fries, and I put the lid on, trying to, because it's just going to run rampant without it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of dial it down a little bit, cook a little bit, and I temp it, and we're under 300. So at this point, the fries are done.
300's a little low.
Yeah.
Quite a bit low, but.
So I pull off the Hunsaker, right, the flat top, and I grab the coals that were still good, burning from the fries.
Yeah.
Threw them in there, put it back on, boom, there we go.
Got her back up.
And then it went too high, but whatever.
So no, like instead of like taking forever to cook and losing your browning, now you're looking at burning things and you're smoking it out, right?
Well, we did start getting, that and all the I did buy some pans more made for a pellet grill for their grease trap because I'm like, that's perfect size. Unfortunately, they don't quite line up. One tipped a little bit. So there was one point where some of that grease got in there, man. It was not only that, it's not like you have a fine edge, like it reaches the end of your Weber.
That's the only downside of them is the handles for these flat tops. They're very much on the outside, which is convenient for you to take it off and on, and gives you as much cooking space as possible. But like you just said, you have oil that does seep out. What I've done in the past is I've used just aluminum foil, and you make like custom baskets that you can kind of mold to kind of extend beyond what a normal aluminum pan that you buy from the store would do. And that worked out really well for me. But
I guess the other thing would be, finding some way of elevating it.
Yeah.
Because, there still was room. So, I'm sure that oil's coming, and instead of, as we think, just dripping off the ledge, it's not doing that, right?
Sure.
You think jumping off a cliff, you fall down. Well,
Kinda
it's probably
drips,
rolling around and going to the
back.
center
Yep.
and then dripping down.
Yep.
So it got a little smoky there for a little bit.
Yep.
And it was hot. But I think all in all,
once you got into your
worked.
groove,
It worked.
You started turning them out like a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool.
It was hot, though.
And people were hungry, but we started getting a groove going. But when I've done it myself, every time I've done it in the past was I've made the balls too small, so I'm like making little tiny hockey pucks, and people are like, "Why'd you make little tiny hockey pucks? This isn't what's that fast food place down?
White Castle?
White Castle.
I've never had it, but
I've had it once, but they make those little tiny sliders. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're having sliders.
Well, think about it, man. I mean, any burger, a lot of times they'll sit there, I'll smash it out. These are, half pounders, and I make them nice and fat, and then they shrivel up, and it's like, like a hockey. Not saying it's overcooked or anything, but it just really shrinks.
Right.
But so that I mean, that's really the cook on that. But that wasn't all what the plan was. It's okay, we're gonna do smash burgers, and I'm thinking what would go good with this. So I'm like, and I remember hearing of it. So I'm like, what about bacon jam? So I look up bacon jam. And with that, I found a recipe, and there's plenty out there. This one worked out nice. Called for a pound of thick cut bacon, which you'd kind of chop up. I guess you could fry your bacon, not to the crisp point, a little under, because it's gonna go back in the mixture, and then chop it up. 2 large, like sweet onions, and thickly sliced. So you cook up your bacon, get that off to the side. Leave like a tablespoon-ish of that bacon grease in there. And then because normally you cook down onions, you use like a butter. We're going to use the fat.
Sure.
Throw your quartered onions or your sliced onions. Let them cook down, right? Kind of get translucent. And then it called to add a half cup of brown sugar. And then just cook it till it caramelizes. So do that. And at that point, they say add a half cup of water. And then the odd one for me was 1/3 cup of strongly brewed coffee.
And you did that?
Yeah. I bought coffee. I don't really drink coffee, so I actually I have a Keurig.
That's let's not gloss past the fact that you don't drink coffee. That's kind
I
of
don't drink coffee all that often. I'm like hit and miss. I don't like. I mean, I no.
Like
I like coffee, but I don't.
I have to have coffee. Like the first one kind of makes me a human being in the morning, and then after that, more is merrier. More after that,
well, maybe that's
gives me a boost.
Well, maybe that's a problem when we do get together. Is maybe I need to start giving you a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
right
maybe.
away.
You trying to say I'm
no. What I do have is I do have a French press.
Okay,
and
nice.
If you want good coffee compared to your Keurig or your regular Mr. Coffee, French press it.
Yeah. I've heard good things about that.
Don't buy pre-ground though. If you buy, I did that once because that's all I could find, and all those grounds because they're so fine, you're gonna be eating them.
Yeah.
So you want to like coarsely kind of grind these bad boys.
I actually bought a grinder. I got fancy with it. So I have like a Keurig 2-in-1. It does like the pot and the K-cups. So I make like a 6-cup thing of coffee every morning, and I grind my own beans. Not my own beans, but I grind beans. But yeah, no, that's the way to go is to grind the beans because it does add a little bit more flavor, in my opinion.
And so I do it. So I do the first. I didn't measure. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not drinking this coffee. So I actually have. I got off like Amazon, and really I bought it for tea. So it's it boils water. So it's like actually think of like your coffee pot, and it's like a plastic base. You put it on there, and in like 2 minutes, it takes your water from
room temp or whatever
to room temp to boil. So I use that. I go up, put it, let it sit, push down the French press. I can see through this. Like, this is mud water. I'm like, this is not strong brew coffee. Yeah. Dump it. I grind a whole mess more, put it all in there, use less water, let it sit. I push a French press down. Look, I'm like, nope. Bring it up, let it sit a little longer. It's like, they say strongly brewed, so I didn't taste it. I wasn't in the mood for coffee. So boom, there we go, my third cup. Add the third cup of coffee, add the half cup of water, and let it cook till it kind of thickens up. Creates a jam-like thing. So really, you're still kind of getting some moisture from your onions, but not much.
Right.
You're pretty much just finishing off the bacon, marrying the flavors, and reducing it, right? You're going to, at this point, boil off your water and your coffee.
Sure.
And when it's done, get it off and add a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar.
Okay.
Mix it up, and they say salt to pepper to taste. I thought I seen somewhere, but it's plenty salty. No need for any pepper. Obviously the brown sugar gave it, more of that candied bacon flavor.
Sure.
So I tasted it because I did this the day before. And I'm like, this is good.
Yeah.
I text you, I'm like, bacon jam, really good. You're like, what?
The way you text it, so the way text,
you're right. I said bacon jam, very nice.
Very nice. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And you have like spell check turned off on your phone, so every time you text, it's like some things are lowercase, some things are spelled wrong, and I'm like,
I don't. I type and I send. I don't.
You expect me to translate it to something I'm supposed to.
Although in hindsight, I don't think anything was spelled wrong on that, but that's okay.
Oh well.
So
I don't understand what you're saying.
Bacon jam. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But what else can we do? And I was kind of thinking, something I've never had either. And I'm like what about like a garlic aioli?
What is aioli?
Before I get to that,
if you don't know it, I'm gonna look it up while you.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, does this go together? Like, I'm gonna make this stuff. Never tried it. So then I actually looked it up, typed it in, like smash burgers with bacon jam and garlic aioli. The only difference was they had like a jalapeno garlic aioli. But I'm like, okay, this is a thing. So
I'm gonna tell you what Google tells me what aioli is. Aioli is a cold sauce consisting of an emulsion of garlic and olive oil. So you tell me what your aioli was.
All right. So when they say emulsion of garlic,
what is emulsion?
Emulsion essentially is mayonnaise.
Okay.
To put it bluntly, so this called I doubled it. Like people like eat it on fries, all this. I'm like, I'm going to do 2 of them. So it called for the single recipe was 4 cloves of garlic, a little bit of salt, a teaspoon of lemon zest. I'll just go down it and kind of explain it. A couple tablespoons of lemon juice. And a couple teaspoons, so 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons of fresh lemon juice, a half teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1 large egg, 1 egg yolk, a half cup of olive oil, a half cup of vegetable oil. Or they were really thinking of a lighter taste in this recipe, and then like parsley to garnish, optional, which I didn't do. So what they had you do is you take I actually grilled and I shouldn't say that. I roasted the garlic. So we had roasted garlic. So get that out, put your oil in, the lemon zest. And they said let's sit for 15 minutes to kind of blend the flavors.
Sure.
I didn't I didn't wait that long.
I'm-
It's gonna blend.
Sorry, emulsion per. What is this Wikipedia? Google says immersion is a fine dispersion of minute droplets of one liquid into another. Or the British version is a water-based paint. So I don't think you use paint.
No, I did not use paint.
Okay.
So wait, no, I'm backwards on this. No, the eggs went in first.
Oh.
I'm sorry. The egg went in first.
Should be sorry.
Because so now I have an immersion blender. You could use a real blender or whisk it by hand. So you mix. You leave your oil out, right? If you're doing this by hand, oil you would slowly put in as you go. I used the immersion blender. So you have your garlic in there. You could do lemon juice. You could do that at the end. Do it to taste. Salt and pepper to taste. So you get that, kind of mix it up. So now you got my egg. I have my garlic, my salt, pepper, and then because I have an immersion blender, I could just dump all the oil in.
Oh, okay.
And then start at the bottom, go up, and as you go, it thickens up.
Sure.
So I forgot. I think I talked about one other time about making like a mayonnaise, how it actually then thickens it up. That oil in the egg has that reaction, which turns it that creaminess. Mm-hmm. And then you can add your lemon juice. I'm sorry, the Dijon was also in there initially. And then, boom, there it is. Few seconds. You can kind of, you'll notice the consistency. It's like, okay, this is mayonnaise now.
Right.
Now, it's probably going to be darker because they can use one egg yolk and make, I think it's what I say when I found out, like 127 gallons of mayonnaise with one egg yolk. They can emulsify that much oil.
That's crazy.
So then I taste it, right? I have my garlic in there. I taste it. I taste the lemon. I adjust some salt, adjust some pepper, and still I'm not tasting the garlic, so I get some more garlic. I put it in there, mix it up, taste it, nothing. Jar it up, I actually use a mason jar, did it right in there, put the lid on, put it in the fridge.
Sure.
Next morning, get up, bring it out, dip a spoon in there, taste it, boom, garlic.
Garlicky.
Garlic.
Yeah.
Really nice.
So, end product, right?
End product.
I think so. I took everything. When I made the burgers, and I finally got your burgers once they were cooked. 3 hours later. No, I'm just kidding. Ooh, sorry.
They still came out pretty quick.
They didn't, yeah.
4 or 5 minutes each.
Sorry, dead horse. The burger, I had two double burgers, and the first one I had the bacon jam. That was really good. But I think the aioli was awesome. It really accented or offset, I should say, the greasy. I don't know.
Well,
flavoring.
You kind of did. I mean, you're cooking it. You're doing it on the griddle, man. You're going to have a little more grease to that burger.
No, that's what I'm saying. It offset some of those flavors.
Right.
So
see, I did both, and I also the day before I'm like, what else would go good? And I found at the grocery store like a 2.5 pound pork shoulder.
Oh yeah,
little guy. So I'm like, well, the day before I just smoked whatever. Not worth mentioning. Like. My initial thought was to lay it down and see if I could get some crisp to that, almost make patties out of it. And then, boom, you would have that. I didn't do it. I just warmed it up, and then you could throw some on. So what I had is I did the bacon jam, the double patty with cheese in the middle, and then the garlic aioli. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it was with all three. I mean, it was actually a real nice complement to itself.
And yeah, I think overall everything was really awesome, especially after a day of swimming. And you said, it was really warm outside. It was hot outside, I should say. And with the day of swimming, you're hungry, and it fit the bill. Really well.
Bacon jam, that's a keeper. Bacon jam was amazing.
It's a little loud.
Yeah, that happens. The garlic aioli I liked. I think the biggest thing would be figuring out the whole smash burger, right, to make it where it's not sticking.
So follow-up question: are you going to try again? And would you do it in front of other people, or are you going to do it like just by yourself?
Well, I would want to figure out, because I actually had leftover. So last night it was supposed to storm, it didn't. So I'm like, well, I got a little cast iron like griddle put on the stove. And I made a mess, man. That splash. But those turned out really nice.
Yeah.
But the problem is I have with that is one burner is like your super burner, and then in the back it's a little dinky one. So it kind of heated up. I'm kind of letting it go. I even flipped it. Mm-hmm. So you still had a hot spot in there. I was trying to adjust. Maybe a little warm, but yeah, you had nice crisp edge to it. Now it was all out of bacon jam. That was all gone.
Sure.
But the garlic aioli I still had, so I put some of that on there.
And still good, right?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
the smash burgers, as much as die hard I was of, you got to grill them. You don't put them in a frying pan. That's not a burger. You can, yeah, they're pretty decent.
They're good burgers, dude.
It's a good burger.
Once we master it, they're amazing. They're awesome. They're quick. You know, you can churn out a butt ton of them for, you know, family and friends. And like, I like what you did. You made a butt ton of them with you had all the meatballs on a cookie sheet.
Yep.
And so you just had multiple sheets of burgers
I'll tell you,
ready to go.
the best thing too is how I had parchment paper, because at some point, you know, we're kind of someone's bringing those into the garage as I'm cooking, and then they're not coming back out. And these bad boys are cooking. I'm doing, you know, 2-3 of them,
right,
you know, double patties at a time with nowhere to put it. Well, at this point, I had, because this meat wasn't runny, or, you know, there was no moisture in them. So I removed the parchment paper, and I had a clean, safe area. Well,
right.
Some might disagree on the safe, but nobody got sick. So
Nobody got sick that you know of, right?
well, I mean, it's your family. If your
My family didn't get sick. I don't think. Yeah.
I don't think anyone in my family did. Guess shows how much I pay attention.
Exactly. No, yeah, I definitely recommend it. And once, like I said, I've done it a couple times, and I'm like, you got to do it at least once or twice and kind of get good at it. And if you don't do it, you kind of forget like the ins and outs of it. Or I guess maybe the smart way to do it would be like write down tips.
Right.
You know, future me, do this.
Right. It's figuring out how to get them bad boys to smash, because that handle is beautiful. It'd be nice and easy. Smash, lift.
Right.
It just, you know, you have to, like anything, right? You gotta experiment.
And going back, so like when I did it, I would clear actually the griddle of all that grease and all that oils and stuff, and I would use my scraper, my
and I did do that periodically.
spatula to
because the cheese would drip off. So I clean it, and once in a while I'd throw, when I did a real good clean, I would then throw a little more tallow down just to not put it, you know, on a dry surface.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right, cool. So I used a buzzword from season 1, episode 1. Definitely, that was definitely a good cook. The chicken parm was a good cook. We were going to talk about a third thing, but we're going to save it for next episode, I think.
Yeah, I agree on that. So I think we've done enough, and I'm kind of sick of looking at you, Jamie.
Yeah, and it's really hot in your garage, dude. We didn't, you know, that studio that you're building, that can't get done soon enough.
I gotta be able to kick somebody out of the house before I can have a studio.
Oh. I thought you said you were going to build a studio, but okay.
I mean, I will. I just got to get rid of somebody to free up that space.
Soon. All right, cool.
With that being said.
Good episode. Find us. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Where are they going to find us? Where's everyone going to find us?
That's right. Find us on the Instagrams, the Facebooks.
Instagrams, the Facebooks.
We've been horrible at posting anything on there.
Sorry.
Our website, which, there again, we haven't been great at putting recipes up.
Yell at us. I feel bad.
But
is this on me, or is this combined lack of?
It's kind of combined. I mean, I'm kind of like produce the episode part, so it's like they're being released.
They're being released. It's just me that's the social media guy. That's not.
I mean, I used to do it, but I started. You know, I had the cooking class, stuff like that. So normally I would do it like on Thursdays, or at least post it the night before, and then I got busy, and then that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
You're the website guy.
I'm the website guy.
So,
all right, website's going to get updated. Crisscross applesauce, promise. All right, cool. So, all right, let's close it out.
All right.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Matt.
And we are Shade Tree Chefs.